Hey guys, I thought it might be a good idea to try and apply some technical analysis to items in the Counter-Strike skins market. I love Counter-Strike and I study accounting and finance at university at the moment, and that this is just sort of a way that I've decided to implement what I'm learning and apply it to something that I enjoy doing, which is playing Counter-Strike, to make it a bit more, to make the work that I'm doing at uni a bit more fun. So I thought maybe today I would bring you along with me, just so it's not me sat at my desk plugging away at an Excel sheet when I could really be playing Counter Strike or doing anything better with my life. So I thought I thought I'd bring you along. I wanted to give you guys some disclaimers, obviously, before we start. And the main one is that the Counter Strike market doesn't obey the laws of physics. It doesn't obey any principles of economics. This is complete pseudoscience within the context of essentially a video game. I couldn't tell you whether any of the stuff I theorize about or calculate or anything like that. I couldn't tell you whether it's going to have any meaningful effect. I definitely can't be relied on to generate. If you guys follow along, don't expect any sort of return. I might be wrong. So far, I have been wrong. I've lost money. Um, so far in the last sort of 6 months tracking what I'm going to get into today. I think that that's for a different reason, which is why I'm still passionate about getting back into it, maybe taking up a bigger position. And I wanted to bring you guys along to show you how I come to those conclusions using a bit of technical analysis, using some, comparing data sets, and that sort of thing. None of the following is financial advice. Do not follow along expecting a return. And also, this isn't really a tutorial. This isn't me showing you complete work. I have done a little bit to go through with for you guys, but this is me figuring stuff out on my own, and then just sort of bring you guys with to see what conclusions I can come to. And finally, I guarantee this is going to seem disjointed. This is going to be a really lousy excuse for a YouTube video. I just hope that you guys can follow along. Let me know if there's anything wrong. Let me know if there's anything you need clarification on. I'm happy to respond to any comments. But yeah, I'll get over to the Excel sheet and I'll show you what I've done. Okay, so I have done a little bit of analysis to show you guys, to give you some sort of idea of where I'm getting my where I'm getting my methodology from, what I'm basing my investments on. And essentially what I've got here is I've got the ratios of the price of a factory new Tech 9 whiteout to the price of a Tech 9 whiteout in minimal wear. Okay, so it costs 12.12 times as many minimal wares to buy one factory new Tech 9 whiteout. Again, I've done the same for USPs, I've done the same for P250s, I've done the same for MP7s. And the lowest one, it would cost you only 4.43 times the price of a minimal wear P250 to buy a factory new one. That's the smallest gap, and by far and away, at pretty much 3 times the difference, is the Tech 9 whiteout. Okay, you would have to buy 12.12 minimal wear Tech 9 whiteouts to have spent as much money as a guy who bought one in factory new. Factory new Tech 9 whiteouts are either incredibly expensive relative to minimal wear Tech 9 whiteouts, or the ones in minimal wear are relative to the factory new ones quite cheap. That's what I think personally. And obviously, this isn't financial advice. That I bought however many I have now, 7. I bought most of them when they were like 60 Australian. I paid like 70 for one or two. I'm down quite a lot at the moment, but I believe that they are at the price they're at now for external factors. It's unrelated. I think the price of the factory new and the minimum wear should both be higher than they are right now, and I believe that they're going to be higher in the future. That's irrelevant to what we're doing today. I'm just studying the distance between factory news and minimal wears, and obviously it's quite big. I've done the analysis in the past, maybe a couple months ago, and it was 10. It's now 12. So the distance between factory news and minimal wears for the Tech 9 whiteout at least is getting bigger. Okay, so I've gone and had a look at the difference between the number of factory new whiteout skins compared to the total. So we can see that only 1.425% of MP7 whiteouts are in factory new, and we can see that almost 15% of MP7 whiteouts are minimal wear. Same for the others. 30% of all P250 whiteouts are minimal wear, which is really quite high, considering how big the float range is for minimal wears. So seeing 30%, a third, when we have a look at CS float, does that distance right there look like a third of the total range? No, it doesn't, and obviously it actually isn't, because the float cap 0.8 is about here, and 0.6 is about here. So it is a bit different to what I'm showing you, but you know, it's easy to see that you can literally see the distance on my cursor right now between these 2 points. The area of the number of skins that should be minimal wear is really quite low. It's only on a traditional 0 to 1 float range skin, it's only 0.08. So 8% of skins should be minimal wear. Obviously, I don't really care about, you know, how much that 8% changes when you factor in how much, you know, the float cap changes things. I don't really care. Because I can tell you for a fact that it's not 30%. You know, this shouldn't be the case. So obviously, the Chop Shop collection's old as well. So I would assume, just by looking at this number, this is mainly almost entirely from trade ups. People are trading up to get P250 whiteouts. Maybe they thought they were going to get a factory new one and they put in the wrong inputs or something like that. It doesn't really matter. Just, you know, there's a lot of minimal wear P250 whiteouts, and I think that a lot of that would be from trade ups. And I think that's going to be the case for a lot of these. If we took the actual float range and how many MP7s should be minimal wear, how many P250 should be minimal wear, the number that actually are is going to be way greater, because you have to account for trade ups. Because ultimately, especially with these old skins, that's how people get them. How else are you going to get them? You know what I mean? So looking at the USP, it's a similar story. 25% of all USP whiteouts are in minimal wear, and 1.7 are in factory new. So really, looking at these statistics, you can see that the outliers, the P250, there's an abnormally large amount in factory new compared to the rest. It's over double, and then probably about double. So again, if I applied the same logic into it, well, you know, 1.4% are, how big is the distance between 0.06 and 0.07? It's 1%, okay? So we can see that there's 0.42591% too many MP7 whiteouts. That's not actually too bad, considering, you know, so we can see from that there haven't been too many people trading up successfully, at least to factory new MP7 whiteouts. The P250 is a different story. There's way more. There's way more. There's a little bit more USPs, and there's not really too many more Tech 9s. That's going to be, again, because the float range is different. The Tech 9 float range is different. It's between 0.06 and 1 instead of 0.06 and 0.8. So, you know, looking from this, you could tell that, hey, the number of factory new P250s is a bit overinflated. I'm not really doing all this analysis to just focus in on the Tech 9. It's nice that I can get a bit of a broader idea of how whiteout skins in general are doing. You know, it's fun for me either way. I don't really care whether it doesn't, you know, whether it's not fully efficient in giving me a yes or no, but do I buy Tech 9 whiteouts? What float do I buy them in? That sort of thing. Looking at the minimal wears, 15%, 31% is crazy, 24% and 18%. So these numbers from the Tech 9 really aren't that much, you know, especially compared to the P250. They're not exorbitantly high compared to what they should be. Again, I could figure out what they should be. I don't really care, because I can tell there shouldn't be 18% minimal wear. It should be a lot lower. But that's not too bad when we consider that it could be 31%, could be 3.6% for factory new. So we can see that Tech 9s aren't getting pumped with trade-ups like some of the other ones are relative to their populations. Obviously, these newer skins, there are way more. There's 330,000 Tech 9 whiteouts. There's 250,000, which is crazy for a pink. There's 252,000 pinks, 66,000 P250s, and 17,000 MP7s, which is really quite low. We've also compared these two numbers themselves. So there's 8.61 times as many in minimal wear compared to factory new for the P250. There's 10.46 times as many minimal wear MP7s compared to factory new, and again, the number for the Tech 9, which is really the target. The Tech 9 is what we want to identify as a good investment or a bad investment. It isn't sticking out in any meaningfully wrong way. You know, there's nothing. What we're trying to see essentially is, if these numbers were here for the Tech 9, if maybe 5% of all Tech 9s were factory new, and 35% were minimal wear, you could go, well, that's crazy. They're way off what they should be, like insanely far off what they should be. That might account for this huge gap in price. Obviously, one of the factors that I've spoken about before is that the float range is different for the Tech 9 compared to the USP, P250, and MP7. There's a lot more, as I said, the float range is from 0.06 to 0.8 for the Tech 9, and it's from, oh no, cut, sorry. The float range for the Tech 9 is 0.06 to 1, and for the rest it's 0.06 to 0.8. So there's a much bigger area of battle scarred for the magical dice to land on compared to the tiny little speck in factory new compared to the others. That could account for this big gap. What else could account for it? You know, this isn't really technical analysis anymore. It's more of just sort of theorizing and trying to come up with explanations. And if we can't come up with explanations, hey, maybe these are just undervalued in minimal wear. Maybe this could jump up really quite easy. You know, there's a lot of people investing in these at the moment because we haven't got a whiteout skin since 2019 or whenever the last train collection, 2021, the last train collection came out. So, and with China obviously inflating the price of everything, it would be reasonable to assume that a lot of people have bought factory new Tech 9s and are holding on to them. That could account for, you know, higher factory new prices and therefore a bigger ratio. So, you know, we haven't seen anything abnormal. If anything, the price of P250 is quite abnormal, or the amount in factory and the amount in minimal wear is quite abnormal. But they're old skins, so that can sort of be accounted for. But there's nothing in here that would suggest that this should be 3 times as high as the USP ratio, which is absolutely mental. And, you know, really comparing these two, we could try and come up with some reasons for that. The USP is a popular skin, and so people are willing to buy them in minimal wear rather than just factory new to have a flex. A lot of people might just buy them in minimal wear because, hey, it looks pretty close now. In Global Offensive, whiteout skins looked a lot worse in other floats. I'll show you in floats other than factory new. You know, this is how they look in factory new, but if we go, well, that's minimal wear. There we go. I tripped myself up. That looks factory new. That looks perfect. It looks flawless. There's a little bit of an nick right there, a little bit there maybe, one there, but you know, they look pretty good. And in Global Offensive, that definitely wasn't the case. You needed one in factory new to have the skin actually look clean. So, you know, there could be a real argument that, hey, it's a pink in an old collection. They look good in minimal wear now. I could see there being more of a market for minimal wear than there would be for the Tech 9. The Tech 9, it's new, it's in a collection no one really likes. The economy in which the collection is relevant to, you know, I don't know how the Counter-Strike economy was when the train collection was out. Everything was a lot cheaper, but I don't know the strength of the economy back then. I couldn't remember. But right now the economy is bad. Everything is very cheap. There isn't really a market for play skins. Everything's sort of held up in investments. Maybe people just don't want to buy minimal wear Tech 9 whiteouts right now. That's a pretty good explanation. You know, $33 for a minimal wear whiteout skin that, you know, in Counter-Strike 2 looks really good. It's quite strange. If we look at the difference, the actual quantitative difference in price, 160, 118, 212 to 33, seriously, that's mental. The closest to the price of a factory new Tech 9 is the P250. It's $123 difference. But the gap from minimal wear for the P250 and the Tech 9 is crazy. You know, this is like over a third cheaper. This is a third the price. It's, sorry, over 60% cheaper. This is an incredibly good deal compared to all of these. So, assuming we pin the reasoning for this being so cheap on just no one really wants them right now, it would then be reasonable to say, I'm not saying that this is true, I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but it would be reasonable to say that, hey, look, maybe the market for these will go up, maybe all of a sudden people will go, hang on, it's actually probably the best Tech 9 in the game. And a minimal wear one, which looks essentially factory new, is 12 times cheaper than a factory new one. Why don't I just buy them? You know, and there's not too many. There's 60,000, there's 18%, but hey, these numbers aren't crazy like for the USP and for the P250. That's a reasonable number. It's not like, oh, there's way too many in minimal wear, that's why the price would be this low. I can't think of a reason why the price would be this low. Other than everything's really cheap now, knives are incredibly cheap, old collection skins, even collection skins that really should be gaining value. Like I've got a souvenir Desert Eagle hand cannon, and I bought it before the souvenir update came out. That only jumped in price about $100. A non-souvenir one is still 650 or so Australian, and a souvenir hand cannon is only about 450. So everything's really cheap, unusually cheap, and we could pin that on there being less consumer confidence. Obviously, Valve is coming out with a bunch of crazy updates that shake up that really stir the pot, so to speak. So we could assume that, hey, in the future, if Valve sort of leaves Counter-Strike be for a moment, you know, meaning that they don't make any more groundbreaking updates, I could see the market coming back for Counter-Strike skins in general, for play skins especially, and I could see people going, well, hang on, why would I spend $400 on a Tech 9? I could spend 33, and then, hey, maybe the price goes up to 50, and someone goes, hey, that's still not bad compared to this number right here. If the price of a factory new Tech 9 whiteout stayed the same, and a minimal wear went all the way up to 100, it would have the lowest ratio out of any of these, but I could still see it being reasonable. I think the ratio of 12.12 to 1 right now is ludicrous. I think obviously that it's a completely different float range, so it's sort of uncharted territory, and we can't entirely rely on these numbers here. I think this number's definitely going to be higher than these, but hey, I think there's a lot of room for minimal wears to go up in value compared to factory news. So I've got quite a few at the moment, and it would probably be a good idea for me, at least. This is not financial advice. Do not follow my, don't do what I do expecting any kind of return. These could go to $20. Valve could come out with an update. Hey guys, the Fortnite item shop's here. You can spend stars and just buy whatever you want for 10 stars. The price of everything explodes. Don't, you know, this isn't financial advice. Me personally, looking at the difference between this and this, the difference between this and these, I am going to be pursuing a larger long option in minimal wear Tech 9 whiteout. So we'll put that as my resolution. And there we go. So look, this is really surface level. I haven't gone into historical data and, you know, seen how these have changed. This has changed over time. You know, maybe 6 months ago the ratio was 10, maybe 6 months before that the ratio was 4, maybe it was 5. I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't say the same for any of these. That might be something to do in a different video. That might be something to have a look at for a different skin entirely. Maybe I'll do a video of just analyzing the Tech 9 by itself using historical data rather than using these as references. Maybe I'll just see, oh, how has this number changed over time? Is it getting worse? And then do I think it's going to get better? But this is just a little bit, this is an example of what I can do. And what you can do at home. Really, this isn't, you don't have to have a PhD in statistics or whatever to figure this out. You're just really comparing all the comparable numbers and thinking, do these numbers look sustainable? Do I think that a minimal wear Tech 9 whiteout is always going to be 12 times cheaper than one in factory new? If you don't think that's the case, buy some. Maybe you'll be right. I don't think you could be much more wrong. I don't think these are going to get really any cheaper. I could see these getting more expensive, like compared to the P250. Is the Tech 9 more desirable than a P250 just in general? Yeah, I would say so. So I could see the price going about level with this because it's an older skin. There's a lot less in general. But I could see this becoming, more desirable than that definitely. The USP I think is always going to be a desirable skin. I think it's always going to be expensive. I don't think the Tech 9 will reach $700 in factory new. I don't think the minimal wear will reach $160 in minimal wear. But hey, maybe it will reach 100. That would be great. So I definitely think that my resolution is to buy minimal wear Tech 9 whiteouts. Do not do what I do and cry to me that it didn't work. Okay, just come back to the channel and make fun of me for losing money. Because that's probably going to happen a lot. But this is just, letting you guys know how I think about these sort of things and how much of a dweeb I am. I haven't really been able to find anyone else on YouTube. Maybe I'm not searching hard enough that does this sort of quantitative analysis. But I wanted to show you guys that, hey, maybe it's something that you can give a good go because it gets my mind going, it's fun. And hey, maybe potentially it could make you some money, but I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it wasn't too disjointed. I guarantee a lot of you guys would have struggled with it just because of the way that I talk and the way I laid everything out is quite complicated, and I could have done a better job. But hopefully you guys understand. Hopefully you guys could apply this yourselves if you wanted to whiteouts, to different collections, groups of skins, maybe to gun skins as a whole. Maybe I'll do a video of seeing how Glock skin prices compare to USP skin prices and how those differ to how it was in the past. I don't know. I've got an idea. Let me know if this is something you want to see. Let me know if I should stop and just make Counter-Strike videos of me playing the game normally. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope this made some sort of sense, and I hope there's some things that you can take away from it for sure.